Watches are interesting invention. For many, they serve the purpose of telling the time, and for some, they provide the experience. For many, they are all about the function of date and time, and for some, they mark life's milestones. For many, they are there to do the job, and for some, they are there to bring the smile. They are sports watches for one market, and then precious metal watches that serve a completely different purpose. But when steel sports watches that do the job are manufactured with so much attention to detail that they exceed the value of precious metal watches, it becomes even more interesting. Rolex are probably the most known and sought after watches that reasonably serve both functions of accurate time telling and the on-the-wrist experience that brings you the smile. They are good watches. They do the job they are made for. They are versatile, reliable, accurate, durable, and timeless in design. They are made to take daily hits and beating, and they will do any sports, shocks or jerks, and they will endure. They are at heart steel sports watches, and they deliver this function like a charm. But then when we start to pay for them the prices that actually open up a new dimension and market tier that can offer us luxury steel sports watch, it's worth to step back and reconsider our choices when what you will experience is completely different in both cases. The luxury steel watch in this comparison today is AP Royal Oak. If you determine the value of watch only from market price, then this video and channel is probably not your best choice. But if you ascertain the value of watch from the wrist feel and to experience the fine watchmaking, I will walk you through what you are getting out of Rolex and what you could get if you had opted for a luxury watch. AP Royal Oak is the name of fine watchmaking in the flesh of steel watch at its best. When you hold it in your hand, you instantly notice the details that are not limited to dial but also the watch case, bracelet and clasp. The benchmark here is not only ahead of everything else in this price point, rather any watch made of steel at any price level. The attention to details you experience in AP is something that will truly mesmerize you, and this is the experience you really need to go through to understand what luxury steel sports watch truly means. AP Royal Oak was the first watch in the history of watchmaking that raised the standard of stainless steel watches even above precious metal watches, and the first steel watch to cost more than gold watches of the time, all because of extensive labor work and high-end horological finish required to meet its specs. When it was sketched by Gerald Ginta as a design concept, the specs proposed was so hard to achieve on steel due to being hard metal that first prototypes were made in white gold, due to gold being softer material and the required machining on metal was relatively easier. Every dial on AP Royal Oak has a tapestry pattern, which is an iconic design feature. The tapestry pattern is made by mounting every dial on pantograph that draws these circular concentric grooves on a larger wheel, which then through mechanical linkage system engraves the same concentric pattern on a smaller scale in the watch dial. I will link the video of creation of this dial in the video description below. And this process yields the dial the effect and experience that absolutely nothing else in the industry offers. The color on the dial here is blue, which is also boutique exclusive, and I must admit this is probably the most interesting blue I have seen and owned. In terms of dial experience, the tapestry pattern adds a lot of character to the watch. The watch in return does not only give the sunburst effect, but you can see how the individual squares within the dial have their reflections and adding all different color gradients to the watch. Whereas if you compare the same in Rolex dial, the green dial is beautifully sunburst and you can see the radial lines emitting from the center of the dial and extend to the dial rehaut. The sunburst machining on Rolex Hulk dial is undoubtedly beautiful, but from manufacturing point of view, it is a fairly basic process when you compare it with tapestry dial, hence the limited experience. The hour indices on Royal Oak have multiple facets, and as you flick your wrist to see the time, The way these facets, especially the chamfered edges, play with the light adds so much pleasure and joy to the overall experience. The hour indices are of course filled with lume, but has limited or lesser brightness when compared with Rolex. On Hulk, the hour indices are applied and also have lume filled in them, but there is no chamfering or any multiple machining on the facets, which limits the experience of wrist view. Even the logo on Rolex is white painted as opposed to AP logo, which is applied on the dial. The bezel on AP is again steel with multiple machining, with top surface brushed having vertical lines and the bevels having mirror polish, which adds to the overall experience as the watch plays with the light. The bezel works perfect with the dial and multiple facets on the hour markers and maintains the symmetry. Hulk's bezel is ceramic and unidirectional, being diverse, and has graduations for time reading. The green on bezel is lighter in shade than the dial, making the overall experience a little more rich by making the watch two-tone. Looking at bracelet, AP's bracelet is best in the business, and that's not only from the design perspective but also the attention to detail and craftsmanship. See how finished to perfection is this bracelet machined, and then every link has multiple facets, with upper face as all brushed and the chamfered bevels are polished. Even the smaller links connecting the larger links together follow the same pattern and have both brushed and polished surfaces. Rolex bracelet is all brushed with no multiple facets or machining or polishing on display. The all brushed finish does leave the bracelet sturdier, but the point of discussion here is the overall experience of ownership and the effort in producing the product. AP's bracelet follows the polishing along the tapered edges and bevels too, that are polished to perfection, and it continues all the way to clasp. In Rolex, there is no such beveling, and the bracelet follows a more of minimalistic approach, which however does work with the sporty nature and look of the watch. The clasp of Rolex Submariner is one of the strongest points, being glide lock, having micro adjustments, meaning that you can adjust it on the go without ever needing to use tools. In AP, the bracelet clasp follows the same integrated design concept and adopts the same profile as the links, adding to this symmetrical look and uniformity in the flow of the bracelet. There's no quick adjustment on AP's bracelet, although the clasp is double deployant butterfly clasp, which is very sturdy and durable overall. Turning the watch's backside up has more stories to uncover. On AP, you start to experience the watchmaking at its best. The case back showcases beautiful caliber that is fully decorated with Cotes de Geneva on all the bridges and come with an absolutely beautiful 22-karat gold rotor mounted on ceramic ball bearings. The rotor features coats of arms for Audemars and Piguet family, and even under close inspection, the attention to detail here is mesmerizing. The look through the case back is an absolute joy, especially when you have this crazy level of details looking at balance bridge, supporting balance wheel, the winding of coils and the meshing of gears, polished screws, and then the Geneva stripes. And then the contrast that the gold rotor adds on top of all stainless steel look. Absolutely the symbol of fine watchmaking, offering the view that is a dream of any watch admirer. Rolex caseback is closed, so unfortunately you can't see the movement. You can however argue as to whether is it really required in a diver's watch. My answer is yes, it is, especially at the price point in question. Overall, Rolex deliver the function and do the job. They are durable and take daily beating better. On the other hand, APs are high-end luxury watches, which primarily offer you the experience of extremely high-end watchmaking with delicacy and attention to detail that is truly a step above anything else at the price point that they sit in. The manufacturing and machining on bracelet and watch case you see in AP is the best in the industry, and not only in the price point, rather it's actually the best across the range of steel watches produced in any corner of the world. It's very commonly said that APs are scratch magnet. And to be honest, which steel watch isn't? Against any hit, rubbing or impact, both of these watches will get a scratch, ding or dent of more or less equal magnitude. However, it will be more obvious in AP because the perfectly finished brush lines will show discontinuity and imperfection due to that damage. Rolex won't show it that obviously, and the reason for it is that it already has a fairly basic and rough brushing from factory. The not so refined brushing in Rolex on one hand hibernates the scratches from day-to-day use, but then again does not offer the same experience on the wrist even when bought brand new. The experience that will get you to enjoy the bracelet itself without even needing to roll the wrist and look at the dial. Comparing the quality and craftsmanship between Rolex and AP is similar to putting a piece of glass and diamond side by side, believing that you can see through both of them. You can, but glass is there to serve the purpose and diamond to mesmerize the eyes. So, would you pay diamond money for the glass too? The difference here is not the preciousness of material, rather the craftsmanship and attention to detail. Assuming these can be had at retail prices, there is no better watch here. These are different watches, but we just need to remember that both of these watches have different purpose and market. Rolex are good watches, but with the aftermarket prices now rising high enough that they are approaching the luxury watches price tier, I think it's time to step back and reconsider the options. If you thought Rolex were luxury watches in the first place, I'm sorry, but not sorry to wake you up. Let me know your thoughts and which one would you prefer, assuming you could have both at the same aftermarket price. And also, what is your primary deciding factor? Market value or experience on the wrist? And don't forget to subscribe to my channel to stay notified of my next video. Happy collecting!